Oh, hey. Hope everyone had a good holiday. Mine was pretty good. I got to spend a lot of quality time with my wife this year. Christmas here is more of a romantic holiday, so getting to spend it with someone I really care about was everything I could have ever asked for, especially after all the noise. No matter how tough life gets, she's always the first one to pick me right back up and remind me how lucky of a guy I really am. Seriously, I can't live without her. Lately, the two of us have been watching Kuma and Gauru, which is perfect for the holiday season. I've also been chipping away at Pokemon Yellow and Pokemon Coliseum. Purifying every Pokemon was definitely not for the faint of heart, but your boy did it. Please never make me do that again. As you can already tell by now, this video won't be the usual structure people are used to. No crazy editing, just me clearing up some things. Wild misconceptions, my plan for the channel, all of that. I'll try to cover as much as I possibly can. No beating around the bush. So you will hear some of my raw thoughts. And some of what I say won't be for everyone, since I know a good portion of you aren't really used to me being blunt on this platform. But it has to be done regardless of how we all feel about it. I'm fully aware that this video will divide my audience, but I'd rather stay true to myself and keep the right crowd than try to appeal to absolutely everyone. It's how I've always been. Quick disclaimer, I haven't really kept up with most of the drama. I don't use apps like X or Blue Sky, and it's been years since I've touched Reddit. I'm sure I'll miss a few things. I've only seen what some of my friends have DM'd me, etc. You'll soon find out I'm not really the type to engulf myself in things like this, just about ever. Anyway, there's tons to go through. Grab a snack and get comfy. We're gonna be here for a bit. Okay, so lots of you are probably wondering what happened. TLDR, questionable bits and pieces from my past have crept up. Some true, some outlandish, which ultimately led to my reputation plummeting pretty bad without much explanation or clarification on my part. People were confused, many were concerned, and tons of questions, accusations, and misinformation began circling. During the midst of it all, I took a step back from the pedestal I was thrown upon and reevaluated how I'll be presenting myself moving forward, leading to me going silent for a while to really process everything and keep a safe distance from all the chaos. Now that the holidays are over and the dust has settled a bit, I can elaborate on everything that happened and answer some very important questions people might still have. Before I begin, I should catch you up on my plans for UsagiShade, discuss my current stance on Isu, and explain why I left in the first place. Alright, so UsagiShade. Things will be a bit different on this channel. I will focus on the usual stuff you know and love, like customizations and new ways to approach emulation in general. But I do want to introduce some more grounded content, focusing less on a single hobby, and instead finding ways to enhance this niche in other aspects of your life outside of just this. That being said, the previous uploads will go public again like normal, albeit under new restrictions. You might notice that some videos will have their comments paused, and they will remain paused for a while. For the time being, my focus won't be on engaging with the public. Truth is, I've never really considered myself a part of any community, even this one. I'm just a guy with a lot of ideas, and in some cases, I like putting them out there for like-minded people. UsagiShade, and by extension projects like Isu, only make up about 10% of my entire identity. Most of my time is spent on other interests and separate goals in life, but I have been embracing this as a core part of my identity recently. It's also the only tether I really have to Western audiences, besides maybe Instagram. If you ever look at my feed, there's rarely ever any emulation or gaming content, mostly stuff like relationship reels and modern lofts from China. I've always considered myself as an outsider looking in when it comes to this niche, finding a tiny corner where I can share my thoughts before I go back to whatever I was doing that day. This is the only time I ever really engage with a mass audience in any way, which is something I never really do. It's funny because a lot of my followers and close friends didn't really even know I was UsagiShade until just recently, since my page mostly looks like this. It wasn't until I did a proper face reveal in this short that people started piecing it together. Those who know me know that I really value my private life and never share too much about myself. So it's very easy for people to either misunderstand a lot of things about me or misconstrue tons of details relating to me in any way. It's like using breadcrumbs to make a sandwich. Not much you can really do with that. Just keep that in mind as we go through everything. Will you be returning to Isu? The quick answer? No. Not because I dislike the project, far from it, but I rather focus on myself for a while and share new independent projects without any commotion. The team is full of talented people, and from what I've seen, they've been killing it lately. Changing the emulation space was always a dream of mine, and I'm more than happy that people loved my ideas as much as they did. But out of respect for the team, I don't want anything related to me to affect the project. I wish them all the best and look forward to Isu's development. You'll come to find out in this video that once I put something behind me, I keep moving forward and I never look back. It's been my passion project for a very long time, and it was supposed to be my way of steering the community in the right direction after seeing just how incomplete a lot of home launcher setups are. I just had this ambition to create an all-in-one solution, but eventually my hard work began to feel like an expectation. I always knew that having good ideas doesn't always result in positive feedback. I expected the skeptics, people who didn't believe in the vision. Of course, that'll happen with any bold idea you put out there. But I honestly wasn't prepared for how massive the project would become. I'm not someone who ever wants to be famous or at the center of something. I don't interact with online crowds enough to manage a community or have the awareness to, I don't know, not recycle a server that housed my ex's old friend group as a community server for very hardcore enthusiasts. That last one is kind of random. I don't know why I brought it up. I've never really been great at managing a team since I'm someone who prefers to work independently. It's why I'm a digital nomad in the first place. All this to say, I worked very hard to present Isu as best as I could, and seeing it fall apart immediately after showcasing something I was really proud of really shattered my spirit quite a bit, to the point where I lost the motivation to really continue pursuing that vision. You know it's bad when even seeing any mention of Isu triggers a fight or flight response out of me. That in itself is crazy to say out loud. Despite me being the founder of the project, this isn't the crowd I aim to pour all of my dedication into, and I think it's best for me to move forward and continue working independently. Nothing personal, it's just not my vibe. Hope you guys can understand. Why did you leave? Most of you already knew this, but in case you forgot, I published the full Isu presentation the day before I left. Making that entire video was one of the most grueling tasks I've ever done in such a short amount of time. Not only did it do major damage to my overall health, but I was basically at 1 HP that entire week. And on top of being exhausted and longing for a break, I'm receiving floods of DMs from complete strangers. Being on an opposite time zone means I'm being rated at 2 a.m. and I'm constantly being pressured by my team to make a statement about things I hadn't even been fully aware of, all while being super behind on sleep. My brain was shut off, and I had absolutely no time to process literally anything. Leaving was my only valid option if I wanted to gather my thoughts. But it had dawned on me just how ridiculously out of hand things got. I temporarily wiped my channel just to keep it from being used as a hate platform while I was away. Due to how personal a lot of the attacks got, I also wanted to keep my normal life separate from this community, limiting my socials to people I actually know. My wife and her family are well aware of what's been happening. Hell, even a few of my local friends caught wind of it, and they all reacted kind of how you'd expect. The same sentiment was shared from the vast majority of you who reached out wishing me well, which didn't come as a shock to me either. I really do appreciate you guys reaching out the way you did, but you don't need to worry about me. I'm fully aware of how these things go. When it comes to what people say about me, that's completely fine. From the start, I've never tried to be perfect or ever aimed to please everyone. I think it's easy to forget that at the end of the day, I'm just a regular guy. I don't indulge in drama, nor do I have the energy to. Like I stated before, I haven't really kept up with all the negative comments online. Growing up, I've learned that people who have the energy to spread hate usually have the same few things in common. A lot of that anger stems from either not being happy with themselves or just the environment they were brought up in. As someone who's gotten used to being bullied in school, whether it's from complete strangers or even my closest friends, most of it stems from things like insecurities, projection, or just misunderstandings. Like I said before, I'm misunderstood quite a lot. Given how I don't really open up to a lot of people right away, let alone trust them enough to be myself around them. This is especially true when it comes to being in an online environment. And if I'm being honest, I'll never be able to wrap my head around how someone can really take things too seriously on social platforms. Being chronically online has never been my thing, let alone getting into heated debates with people I'll never meet. Like so many others, I come here to simply share things I love, enjoy some content from my favorite creators, and socialize with the people that matter most to me. Outside of that, the well-being and safety of those around me means infinitely more to me than an online presence. My youngest brother-in-law is only 6. He loves the channel and was introduced to handhelds once he started watching my videos about them. Now it's all he talks about. I love this little guy to death and wouldn't want someone like him to see this niche as something shrouded in negativity. I actually gifted him my RP5 for Christmas, even customized the entire thing for him. He takes it with him literally everywhere he goes, which is really what owning a handheld is all about at the end of the day. He's too young to understand any of the drama, thankfully, but even he was upset when the channel went MIA. The only reason I even considered coming back to Usagi is because I don't want to let him down. Same goes to a handful of you who I was very lucky to meet because of this channel. But yeah, to answer the question, I wanted to remove myself for a while just so I could enjoy the holidays with my wife and her family. I would only decide to come back once I got a clear head to address things. Speaking of, let's do that. So, the old comments. Originally, I wasn't going to entertain these, but it seems like these are some of the main key points people like to bring up whenever they argue how UsagiShade is a bad person, and here's why. So, let's talk about it. Admittedly, I rolled my eyes on some of these since they were clearly taken out of context. Case in point, this image right here. I've mentioned before that the server was used for an old friend group. You'd find your usual shit posts, video call sessions, game nights for those group calls where we played things like Jackbox, but the majority of those sessions were spent playing shooters like CS2 or Valorant, back when I used to love playing FPS games in general. CS2 is probably the only shooter I'd still play. Can't say the same for Valorant, unfortunately. But yeah, on this day, it was just me and this user here playing a few ranked matches, as most of us normally did on our time off. We were in the agent selection screen, and a random on our team locked in Cypher, to which another random says this quote here. Spoiler alert, none of us laughed. It wasn't funny then, and it still isn't funny now. That quote was basically a small inside joke for that session since it happened so recently. We normally bash on people who spout nonsense like that to begin with. I mean, for crying out loud, there's literal quotation marks around it. Obviously, I wasn't going to quote it verbatim, which is why this user corrected it after. Unless it's purely satirical, I'd never say something this distasteful in a million years. Can't speak for this guy though. The group itself wasn't that bad. They mostly consisted of normies, people who don't usually spend too much time on Discord. Most of them were pretty harmless. Like I said before, this was my ex's old friend group. I just felt the need to remove myself by association. Being around the wrong crowd has been a common theme growing up, as you'll soon find out, so I've always had to make an effort to remove myself from those environments, even if it means turning those very same people against me. I was a massive people pleaser in the past, which only made me a doormat for those who wanted to challenge that kindness. It was only when I decided to choose myself that it became a problem for said people. Over the years, I've learned just how important it is to love myself and chase my own happiness rather than rely on the validation of others, especially those who desperately want to see you fail. It's very telling when someone has to dig through years of your digital footprint just to find even a minimal reason to justify disliking you. Oh right, how can we forget these comments here? UsagiShade is transphobic, and here's why. I've seen this song and dance countless times on the internet before. It's nothing new. I think these were definitely blown out of proportion, and the backlash was a bit over dramatic. Was what I said very ignorant and condescending? Yeah. Does that mean I hate trans people? No. I don't have the energy to hate anyone. I was raised by this guy. At the time, I simply didn't understand why people took things like pronouns so seriously. To be honest, I feel that way towards a lot of things. That's not me being transphobic. If anything, that's just me being clueless. Obviously, pronouns became a norm after a while, but that doesn't mean I have to use them. Me opting not to use pronouns doesn't equate to me hating an entire community. In all honesty, I just don't care. If you're a decent human being, I'll accept you regardless of what you identify as, what community you're a part of, or whatever it is you strongly believe in. It's all irrelevant to me. I'm also not going to pretend to care just for 5 minutes of clout or validation from complete strangers. If you ask me, it's not that serious. There's absolutely nothing wrong with me choosing not to participate. At the end of the day, I have the freedom to not be a part of that conversation if I feel like it. If that's something that genuinely bothers you, I honestly don't know what to tell you. I hope you can recover soon. That's not me being condescending in any way. The whole thing's just not really my vibe. If you want to continue believing I have a personal vendetta against certain demographics, I can't stop you. Whatever it is you decide to take from this, I genuinely hope it treats you well. The allegations. I'm sure a lot of you were waiting for this one, so let's not waste any more time. The infamous safety burner account, which made some pretty bold accusations about me, is just a hot mess when you really read between the lines. Those with a keen eye could spot the cracks pretty quickly in how they present their claims, like saying they don't want to jeopardize someone's privacy just to prove a point. Meanwhile, she didn't even bother reaching out to the girl in the photos prior to posting these. Mind you, she didn't even know the girl's name, yet decided to rope her into this mess anyway. You would think with so many people affiliated with this account, yes, people, plural, there'd be something more concrete than, I don't know, photos of an arcade. You have predated screenshots from when I was crashing out as a teenager, but you don't have any proof of me committing or admitting to these claims in any of those DMs? Not even a statement from the girl you chose to feature for this claim? Just people affiliated with you that say they heard it from someone else? I mean, you've even gone as far as putting words in my mouth without anything that shows me outright making the claims you chose to highlight in your argument. I'd really like to see the source for these. I'm sure a lot of people would. It's all pretty baseless, but this was enough to push the narrative they wanted for a short while. The so-called victim herself had no idea these photos were even being used this way, and she even asked for the photos to be taken down, meaning she was never really contacted for permission or for an official statement prior to the post, probably because the entire accusation would have fallen flat on its face if she was aware beforehand. The account itself is led by someone I dated in the past, 12 whole years ago. Yeah. She's also affiliated with some of my past exes and friend groups I've cut off ages ago for reasons that'll become obvious pretty soon. Unfortunately, this isn't the first time these people have tried to defame me. This group has been spreading misinformation about me since the very beginning of my channel, and only after the drama began circulating did people start to pay any attention to them. I knew right away who was behind this whole thing, and I knew I'd be making this video since then. It's like that one scene where Marlene tells Zach the vision she had about a man with gray hair killing Aerith, and it dawns on him who she's talking about.
Of all the people.
I won't air Safety Burner's true identity, but I know they're watching this. We'll just call her LY. In the League of Evil Exes, she's basically this guy, and I wish that was a joke, but this girl really recruited the top villains from every single arc. She's someone who claims to not want to take part in any drama and will come across as everyone's ally. Meanwhile, you'll find her at the center of just about every catastrophic event like she's an overarching villain. While I only dated this individual for a year online when I was about 16 or 17, we did agree to move on from our past relationship and met in person roughly 6 years later. I initially thought we'd both moved on and even considered her a close friend. Hell, she was someone I trusted, and I always put her first before anyone else. Just as you'll soon find out, the cracks begin to show instantly when it comes to LY's terrible habits of spreading rumors of not only me, but just about anyone she's remotely affiliated with. As for those affiliated with her, they're all pretty venomous individuals, and I've made an effort to erase them all from my life one way or another. I'm not sure if I should be flattered or feel sorry that after all these years and even being on different continents, they're still this attached to me. And these are supposed to be the people who, quote, want nothing to do with me. Before I continue lore dumping, I'm sure you're all wondering, who's the girl in the photos? I will keep her identity hidden as well, since she's someone who values her own privacy and wants absolutely nothing to do with any of this. We'll just call her Kat. Kat was originally someone who was close friends with my brother, who's 5 years younger than I am. Save this thought for later. Me and my brother were very close, so much so that we always shared a room growing up, even sharing clothes and going on outings together just about every weekend. This guy was and still is my best friend for life. Kat lived nearby and would visit quite often, mostly to hang out with him, but she would be a very common face in our household, becoming a very notable family friend over the years, quite literally getting along with all of my siblings in the process. When it came to certain interests, Kat and I had plenty in common, so nothing felt abnormal whenever she spoke to me or tagged along in any of our outings. Her living situation wasn't really the best, and she always made an effort to go out as much as possible. By the time these photos were taken, she'd been practically part of our family for a few years at that point, so our bond was more familial than anything else. She'd be the type to scold us both if we ever stepped out of line, that sort of thing. Upon first glance, I wouldn't put it past anyone for thinking these photos pretty much scream weird when put under this context. The people who spread the story knew very well how bad this would look with the right narrative. However, I should clarify that LY has never met Kat and has never spoken to her prior to this ordeal either. She did mention that there were quote-unquote people who were present there that can support LY's claims, but that's not completely true. During that time, my college friend group looked like this, and out of that bunch, only these two individuals tagged along that night, with only one of them having any real bad blood with me, meaning they were the only person there to witness it all happen the way that LY claims. On that note, if there's anyone who glazes LY for a living, look no further than this guy. He's never met Kat either, since I've already cut all connections with him by that point. But I'm not opening that can of worms right now.
I have a theory. People talk loud when they want to act smart, right?
Correct!
So if we play loud, people might think we're good. Everybody ready? And a 1, and a 2, and a 1, 2, 3, 4.
We'll come back to him a bit later. Oh, trust me, I can't wait to get to you. Anyway, why do I feel the need to point out who was there and who wasn't? Well, someone else came along that night. Have you ever stopped and wondered who exactly took these photos? It sure wasn't any of these guys. Obviously, these were cherry-picked to fit with LY's story, so it's very easy to miss the extra guest here. Behind every single photo with me and Kat in frame was none other than my own sibling, aka Kat's close friend, always within a few feet of us. We always hung out as a trio in our outings, even in a group setting. So that entire evening, the two of us were never isolated in any way. Obviously, LY and this guy here aren't going to tell you that. Not to mention, these people know next to nothing about my brother, or any of my siblings for that matter, let alone his connection to Kat and how close we all were. So yeah, to them, this is just some random girl who spawned out of nowhere. They knew nothing about her then, and clearly know nothing about her today. It's easy for them to spin this visual under any context they choose, given their lack of information. I'm still curious as to how on earth you came to the conclusion that me and Kat quote-unquote dated. Like I said before, I'd really love to see the source for that intel. I'm sure we all would, because it sure as hell didn't come from me. It's no secret that I look very young for my age, so it won't come as a shock when I say this is a very common issue I have to deal with. There's absolutely no reason for me to resort to something as low as this. The party itself was actually a birthday event for a classmate of mine at the time. She didn't really have many guests that night, so I tried to invite as many people as possible to show her some love. Me and her are still very close to this day. It's a real shame that what was meant to be a fun memory was misconstrued into something really disgusting, all in an intentional effort to make one person look bad. You can now understand why I made an effort to distance myself from this group, and I only covered a fraction of them. I cut off LY about 5 years ago. However, I did send her one final message a year ago before leaving the US, attempting to clear the air and move on from any petty beef there was between us. At the end of the day, I was grateful for the good times we shared and had no animosity towards her or anyone affiliated. Unfortunately, LY would much rather spend her time hyperfixating on ancient drama instead of moving forward with her life. And for what? All you've managed to showcase is that you're still hung up on an ex and you still seek validation for very irrelevant things. Let's face it, you don't care about protecting any victims. Your goal this entire time was simply to make me look as foul as you possibly could, just so complete strangers can view me through your stained lens and feed into your delusion. You literally admitted to Kat that some of the claims you made about me were untrue, all because you were quote-unquote mad. Yes, she told me, and she agrees that you're all super weird. I mean, talk about hyperbolic, some of these stories were just outright insane.
Give me a break! What's up with all this drama?
Had it been just about the allegations, it would have made complete sense. But you couldn't help yourself. None of you could. Instead, this was just another opportunity to trauma dump and vent about a guy that has already moved on ages ago. I honestly pity you. The most ironic part in all of this is that for someone who claims to want to protect victims and even claims to be a victim herself, using all her time trying to out someone as a quote-unquote groomer, LY just so happens to be close friends with an actual groomer and doesn't seem to care much about it. This user here is not only someone who's known LY for as long as I have, but I've also had my personal experiences regarding some of his creepy behavior. Don't just take my word for it. This fact was also restated by LY herself. This is a habit LY had when it came to pretty much every single person in her circle. And believe me, she shared quite a lot. It's starting to feel more like a cry for help. In terms of my own experience with this individual, one event stands out to me the most, and it's a moment I've recounted to LY in the past as well, so she was fully aware of this. In fact, the two of them were dating at that time. This incident was the main reason I began cutting all ties with this individual, if you were curious. This moment unfortunately involved my youngest sister, who was between the age of 6 and 8 during the time I knew this guy. For reference, she wore a short plaid skirt that day, and I think you can guess where I'm going with this. My sister is 18 now, so this was definitely a while ago, but sadly, she still remembers this moment like it was yesterday. In fact, I'll let her recount this event to you herself.
I know because he was your, closest friend, I believe, when you were in high school, and I was, 7 or 8 when this happened, but you guys were friends for a while. He was someone I trusted. I looked at him as a brother, and I never felt uncomfortable around him until after this. I kind of realized that there was something not right. I assume you already explained it, so I'm not gonna go into detail, but I felt confused. I didn't know it was wrong. Again, I was about 7, but at the same time, like a part of me did feel uncomfortable, if that makes sense. I just didn't know the severity of it until now. I don't think what he did was okay. I don't think it was even understandable or reasonable. I just think it was wrong. That's all I have to say.
It's always been very humorous to me that people with the least amount of substance have the most to say. The hot air that stems from their depravity and their longing for attention is just as hollow as they are. The minute they see anyone who has what they'll never attain, they do everything they can to project their shortcomings onto those people. This individual is as despicable as they come. I didn't even have to say anything to prove my case. These two did it for me. I personally knew this guy in real life, and you'd be hard-pressed to find someone else as narcissistic, ignorant, full of themselves, and socially unaware as this creep. He took advantage of my sibling when I invited him into my home, not to mention his habits of going after teenagers as a 26-year-old. After all this time, there was plenty of concrete proof left over, despite scrubbing every inch of his presence from my life after all he did. Based on his recent comments, it seems like he's still just as nasty as ever. This is not someone you give the benefit of the doubt to. If you take anything from what I've shown today, let it be that you shouldn't believe every rumor people spread online, especially when those rumors come from someone so incompetent and so untrustworthy. Karma has one twisted sense of humor, and it looks like you're the punchline. Some might even call it natural selection. Do me a favor and get lost. I'm sure a lot of you are waiting for me to reveal this person's identity and leak all of LY's private DMs. However, if there's one point I've been wanting to make clear in this video, it's that everyone has a rough past and we all find ourselves eventually in order to completely move on. Digging up someone's dirty laundry and knocking them while they're down would go against the entire point I'm trying to make. I didn't come here to bash on anyone or reopen old wounds, but with how heavy some of these topics are, it's difficult not to come off a bit hostile or antagonistic. The truth is, there's really no negative bias left in me when it comes to any of these people, and I don't have the energy to stoop down to their level either. I have everything I could ever want in life. I would gain absolutely nothing from humiliating anyone or outing their personal business. You don't have to close every single door in your life if you aren't walking through them. It's okay to let go and take a closer look at yourself instead of trying to find what's wrong with everyone around you. I've practiced this sort of thing countless times. There's even times where I take an entire year off from associating with the world just to focus on my own growth. It's why some of my uploads are years apart. I'm not someone who necessarily has the mental stamina to keep up with what other people are doing with their lives or anything going on in the world half the time. It's all way too much to keep track of and way too mind-numbing to hyperfixate on. This will be the final time I address any of this. Moving forward, I'm not going to bring up or respond to anything involving this entire situation. Whether you still have your conspiracies or if this group continues trying to drag me down with them, I have no interest in dwelling on any of it and hope it can all be put to rest. Though I'm sure LY and her group will retaliate however they can now. They're a pretty stubborn bunch and they absolutely hate losing. To those who have been trying to villainize me, the ball is in your court now. Whether you decide to find a more productive use of your time or continue talking about me in dingy forums and chats, the choice is up to you. I sincerely wish you all the best in life. I'll continue doing my own thing, engaging with my audience, and living my life the way I have been. For those who want to continue supporting me on my journey, great. For those who don't, great. I will be enlisting this video at some point, but it will remain visible for those who care. The channel will also go back to normal by tomorrow. Tomorrow's video will be very special, and I hope to see you all there. I sacrificed this month's revenue by taking December off, but it was all worth it in the end. I'm glad I finally got all of this off my chest after so long. My birthday's in a few days, so I will be taking the rest of January for myself to celebrate it overseas with my wife's family. Anyway, that's it for now. I apologize to those who've grown tired of this commotion. Just know I'm perfectly fine, and I'm not going anywhere. See you guys tomorrow.